Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Today we are learning Perkei Avos, probably the most famous Masechta in Shas. It's usually learned every Shabbos between Pesach and Rosh Hashanah. People do it year after year after year. I think it's learned the world over. Today's shir is the Fush Lema Yisrael Baruch Aleh Racha Bas Pesach Zoda Racha Aliyana Bas Yom Bracha Avram Yisrael Marisha Chai Bas Tobila Fush Lema B'Sol Shar Chal Yisrael and Shefer Bracha Bas Lecha V'Tzvi Noach Ben Bracha Racha Aleh and the Zui B'Karav V'Shmuel Shmuel David Ben Hinder Miriam and Tzvi Ben Chana. Here we go. So those who are familiar with Perkei Avos know that this is not a typical Masechta in Shas. All the other Masechtas deal with halachas in different categories of halacha. You have Pesachim, there's a Pesach, Yom Kippur, Sukkah for Sukkahs, Yavamas, Ksubas. They're all based on halacha. Not that we pass them like the halacha in the Mishnah, but it's all taught about that. But Perkei Avos, which we're going to do with the next 6 days, tomorrow, Friday, and then half of next week, is more about midos and derech eretz and interactions between man to God and man to his fellow man. These are very apropos for learning during Elul. We're going to do it in 6 days. Usually takes about 6 weeks when we do it on the Shabbos afternoon schedule. And here we go. There's a long parakim, probably, in my opinion, not that it counts so much, the longest parakim in Shas. But we're going to keep to our thing and do a Perek a day every day. Here we go. Here we go. Perek Aleph, Mishnah Aleph, Maseches Avos. Moshe Kiva Torah Misinai. Okay, so we start this Masechta off by giving a brief summary of the Masorah from the time that the Torah was given, from Har Sinai until the Asher Hakadolah, which was approximately almost 1,000 years later, 950 to be relatively more accurate. And it's, by way of introduction, it's called Avos, which means fathers, because it refers to all the great Chachamim who were the leaders of the generations who transmitted the Torah from Moshe through Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. And as a leader, and the leaders of the generations are typically called the Avos of that generation. Even though we typically refer to the Avos as Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, who are the fathers of Klal Yisrael, they are, each generation has, on a different level, at a low level, their own Avos. Anyways, so Moshe Kiva Torah Sinai. Moshe received the Torah from Hashem at Sinai, Umasra Yeshua, and he transmitted it to Yeshua. Yeshua the Zakanim, and Yeshua transmitted it to the elders, to the Zakanim. The elders were the Chachamim of Yeshua's time, and that continued until the time the Nevi'im, which started off with Shmuel. Even though Yeshua was also a Navi, Moshe was a Navi, but there was a different time period. It was a Canaan, the Nevi'im, and then the elders transmitted it to the Nevi'im. The Nevi'im, Masru the Asher Hakadolah, and the Nevi'im transmitted the Masorah to the men of the Great Assembly. This was 120 Chachamim who lived at the beginning of Bayesheni, some of the famous people that they included in there was Mordechai, Nehemiah, Zerubbabel. You've heard these names throughout at least Chanukah and Purim time. They said the Ashkenazis Haggadah said three things: having Mesulim B'din, be patient in judgment, Ve'amidu Talmidim Harbe, develop many students, Ve'asu Siyag LaTorah, and make a fence around the Torah. Shimon, that's Mishnah Beis. Shimon HaTzadik Chayiv Mishari Knesset Haggadah. So Shimon HaTzadik was from the last of the men of the Great Assembly. He was also the Gadol, and he was the most righteous person of his generation. Who Haya Omer? He used to say, that the world stands on three things. But there was these three things that the world was created, and if not for their sake, Hashem would never create the world. Al Torah, on the acceptance of Torah, Avoda, and on the Avodas based on Midas with the Kabbanos, and on the performance of acts of kindness. Those are the three pillars of the world. Let's get a little bit of water here. Be a long moving on. Mishnah Gimel. Antignos is Socho Kiba Mishmon HaTzadik. Antignos, the leader of Socho, received the Torah from Shimon HaTzadik. He was a student. Who are you, Omer? He used to say, do not be like servants who serve the master for the sake of receiving a reward. Rather, be like servants who serve the master out of love and not for the sake of receiving a reward. And let the fear of heaven always be upon you. So, he was not implying, he did not mean to say that it's usher to serve Hashem for the sake of a reward. Everybody wants to be paid for the actions that they do. Well, while it's true that serving Hashem out of love is the highest form of service, doing so for the sake of a reward is still commendable. It's just not ideal. You want to do it out of love. Do you serve your wife and kids because you get paid for it, because you get benefit from it, or do you serve them? Do you serve them because you love them? This is your family. It's okay, it should be because you love them. But you're having a benefit from them is also, it's okay, but it's not as high as straight up love. Mishnah Dalet, Yossi ben Yoezer ish Sredav, Yossi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim, Kibbutz Mehem. So Yossi ben Yoezer, the leader of Sreda, and Yossi ben Yochanan, the leader of Yerushalayim, received the Torah from them, from Antignos. They also studied other Shimon HaTzadik. After he passed away, they finished studying under Antignos. So then the fact that they received it and both of them meant that they received it from both other bands, both from Shimon HaTzadik and from Antignos. And they were known as the first of the Zugos. Zugos means pairs. So we're going to see here throughout the next, throughout this Perek, that you're going to see the Zugos. So the first name listed was the Nasi of the Sanhedrin, and the second one was the Abestim, who was the head of the Sanhedrin. What's the difference between the Nasi and the Abestim is? I'm not, well, the Abestim ranked right below the Nasi, almost like a vice president or vice Nasi. He was the the greater he was the greater chacham of the two, and the actual leader of the Sanhedrin. So it almost sounds like the Nasi is more like a ceremonial and more like a political than anything else. But so Yosef ben Yozer Israel Omer. Yosef ben Yozer, the leader of Israel, used to say or says, "Yeh beischa beis v'ad chachamim." Your house should be a meeting place for the chachamim. And sit before them and become dusty with the dust of their feet. And drink their words with thirst. Mishnah Hey. Yosef ben Yochanan Ishu Shalayim. Continuing with that pair of zugos. Yosef ben Yochanan, the leader of Shalayim, says, "Yeh beischa pesuach revacha." Your house should be open wide for travelers to stop in. And the poorest should be members of your household. And do not talk too much with the women. The reasons that we're going to talk about now. The Ish Talamah said this with regard to his own wife. How much more so with regard to the wife of his friend? From here, the Chacham of later generation said, so when a man talks too much with the women, he causes harm to himself, and he neglects studying the words of Torah, and his end will be that he inherits Gehenna. He will come to sin. Okay, let's go some of these notes. These are very important. Number one, you want to be able to open your home to travelers, need a place to stop and rest and eat. You got to be open wide, following the examples of Avraham Avinu. Obviously, do it carefully so you don't have too many problems. It's also, they're saying to hire the poor to be your household staff, your employees, rather than buying slaves, and helping a person. We know according to the Rambam that helping a poor person to earn a living is the highest form of tzedakah, and so by hiring them to work for you, you will not only be served well, but you also earn a great reward for an act of tzedakah. The Rabbeinu Yonah explains that welcoming the Aniyim into your house is also a wonderful thing to make them feel like they're part of your household. It's also a tremendous mitzvah. So, regarding talking to a person's wife, hopefully to his own wife, it's very important for husband and wife to talk together to maintain a healthy relationship and manage the household property. But our Mishnah is warning against the excessive talking, that the idle chatter that has no constructive purpose for what we just explained in the Mishnah, and obviously talking excessively with another man's wife leads to suspicion and gossip, and it could also lead to a virus, and that's a very big problem. Yeah. Okay, let's go on. Vav. Yeshua ben Prachya v'nitai harbe lekibu mehem. Yeshua ben Prachya and Nitai of Arbel received the Torah from them. From who? From Yossi ben Yochanan and Yossi ben Yoezer. They're the next pair of zugos. Yeshua ben Prachya says, I said, Rav, make a teacher for yourself who can have the chacham and buy yourself a friend. And judge every person favorably. Right? So he says to choose one teacher, one Rebbe, from who to learn your knowledge of the Torah Shabbat Peh. Back in those days, back in the times of the Mishnah, the law had not yet been set into a specific text. You didn't have a Shulchan Aruch, you didn't have a Gemara, you didn't have any of these things yet. So each each Rebbe had his own way of teaching and arranging the halacha. So if you studied under different teachers, then they may express the halachos in different ways, in different words, which would make it more difficult to remember since everything is done Baal Peh. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier since you have so many resources, so there's more of a streamlined process and system. Regarding buying a friend, you also want to have a trusted friend who will help you grow spiritually and guiding you properly. You could guide him, he could guide you, and you should be prepared to invest in that relationship to very substantial levels. Okay, moving on. Nitai, this is Mishnah Zayin. Nitai Har Beli Omer. Nitai of Arbel said, he's the second one of these zugos, of this pair. Harachik Mishachim Ra, distance yourself from a bad neighbor. V'al tischar b'larash, and do not befriend a wicked person. V'al tishyayish min ha'paranios, and do not give up on seeing the punishment of the wicked. Mishnah Ches. Yehuda ben Tabai Shimon Meshetach Kibu Mehem. This is the third pair of zugos. Yehuda ben Tabai and Shimon Meshetach received the Torah from them. Yehuda ben Tabai Omer. Yehuda ben Tabai says, Al tas asrucha korach yad yanin. Do not make yourself to be like those who arrange cases before the judges. And if you are a judge, when the litigants stand before you to present their claims and arguments, they should both seem to you like guilty people, even if you know one of them to be highly respected person. You have to come in and they're guilty until they're proven innocent. Okay, when they leave your presence after you have made your ruling, they should be considered. They should both be considered by you to be innocent people. Once they have accepted the judgment upon themselves. So as in most cases, there's when you have two parties that come to Beis Din, there's one party that's going to win, one party that's going to lose. And even if there's a compromise, there's always going to be one guy's going to benefit, one guy who's going to have to pay. So clearly, the one who loses, he's guilty. But when he accepts the din that came down, this is the decision of the court. Therefore, he has to act and pay and compensate for whatever the decision is, and he makes the payment. Then he's considered to be innocent because he was makabel the din upon himself. Mishnah Tes. I think that's going back to Mishnah Ches, I think that's a very important thing to think about when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, that we all stand in front of Hashem Rosh Hashanah as hopefully humble servants, and Hashem issues a judgment upon us, and which we don't know what the details of that judgment are until you carry out the year and think back to the previous year what the din was. But if you're makabel that din, whatever that decision was, if you're makabel it, then you can be, even if it's going to be painful to go through the year, but if you're makabel the din that Hashem has done during the Yom Noraim, then you have a benefit to yourself. Mishnah Tes. Shimon ben Shetach. Shimon ben Shetach was the second one of that pair. So he says, Marabel lachor es edim. He said to question witnesses at length. Ask them as many questions as you can to make sure that they're telling the truth. But be careful with your words as you question them. So they should not learn from them to lie. When Meaning that when you ask your questions, be careful not to give any clues as to what type of testimony you're likely to accept. Like, don't say, perhaps the incident happened in this and this way, because that might cause the witness to say something that is not true if that's what makes it more believable. So the same is true in questioning the parties to the case about their claims. You got to make sure you're doing it in a proper way. Okay, next pair of zugos, Mr. Yud. Shmaya v'Avtalion and Kibla Mehem. Shmaya and Avtalion received the Torah from Shimon Shetach and Yehuda ben Tabai. Shmaya Omer. Shmaya says, Ahav as a malach, love work. Ushna es harabanas, hate positions of authority. V'al tisvad the reshus, and do not make yourself known to the government. So he's saying that you should love to work, even if you have the money to support yourself without working. You should still find a useful job to keep you busy, since idleness, leads to psychological problems. He says, distance yourself from accepting the positions of authority of the public, because such positions will cause the demise of those who hold them. And, every politician goes in, they're going to make a change, and they're going to fix the problems and everything, and they make changes, but usually it's for the worse, where the power gets to their head, and they become corrupt, and they become arrogant, and they're no longer the humble servants that they were when they took the office. So, I mean, if there's a job to be done and you need to step in, or someone worse is going to take it, then definitely consider that. Mishnah Yud Aleph. Avtalion says, Chanim Izaru B'Derechem. He was he gave a caution to the Chachamim that they should be careful with their words, to express them in a way that cannot be misinterpreted by the heretics, by the Apikorsim. Shema Tachovu Chovas Galus V'Tziglu L'Malkum Mayim Haroim. Because you might someday become liable to a punishment of exile, to galus, and you go into exile in a place of evil waters, meaning a place where there are heretics who will misinterpret your words to support their views. You used to how many times as you see throughout social media, how many times are people's words that taken out of context, and you catch a clip, like a 30-second clip of a much longer conversation, and it's totally taken out of context. There's nothing you can do about it. You used to Hatamidim Abayim Acharechem V'Yamusu. And the students who follow you there will drink from these waters of the misinterpreted words and die before their time because of the sin of heresy, because of apicorsis. And this will also result in the name of heaven being disgraced, being desecrated. Mishnah Yud Beis. Hillel v'Shamai Kibbutz Mehem. Hillel and Shammai received the Torah from Shmaya and Atayim. Hillel says, Havima Mitamir Shel Aaron, be from among the students of Aaron, being the brother of Moshe and the first Kohen Gadol. What was special about him, as we know? Shalom, he was always a lover of peace and a pursuer of peace. The Torah, who loved peace and brought them closer to Torah. Mishnah Gimel. Omer, Hillel used to say, Negad Shema Avat Shmei. Someone whose name becomes widely known should know that his name will soon be lost, that he will die before his time. The low Mosif Yosef, and someone who does not increase his Torah study will lose his knowledge of it. With the low Yalif Kat L'Chayv, someone who does not study Torah at all is deserving of death. The Ishtamish Bisaga Chalaf, and someone who used the crown of Torah for his own gain will pass away. Yeah, don't have any personal benefit from it. Mishnah Yudalid, who Omer Hillel used to say, this is a famous. This song is so famous that they made it to a Mishnah. It's a joke. If I am not for myself, it will be for me. And when I inform myself, what am I? If not now, then when? If I don't do it now, then who's going to do it for me? Right? So I'm expected to carry out, to do things that no one else can do. And so even if I do mitzvahs for myself, so first he says, if I do not work to earn my share in Al Haba, who's going to earn it for me? No one else can do mitzvahs for me. And even if I do mitzvahs for myself and earn some merits through them, they are nothing compared to what I was expected to do in carrying out my voda of Hashem to the fullest extent. Therefore, what am I? How important and worthy of merit can anything that I have done be considered? It is but a small part of what I should have done. I'm supposed to do this. So don't get so arrogant. And if I do not study and fulfill the Torah now in this world, it's going to be too late because it's not possible to earn any schar after a person dies. If I don't strive to make progress in Torah now when I'm young, when am I going to do it? When I'm old? By then it's going to be too late, and you can no longer do it. This is all according to the Bartanura and the Rambam. Mishnah Tes Vav. Shammai says, "I say Torah Kva, make your Torah study your primary occupation and your livelihood your secondary occupation. And more say a little but do a lot. And receive every person with a pleasant face." Mishnah Tezayin, Rabbi Gamliel used to say, make a teacher for yourself and remove yourself from doubt. Amadosh, and do not be in the habit of tithing your crops of separating meiser by estimating the amount. Don't estimate it; rather measure the amounts carefully. You want to make sure you're giving the proper amounts for meiser, and don't estimate, because you estimate, you might get more, you might get less, and you might wind up not giving enough. Mishnah, they say, I know people who are accountants, and they look at people's accounts and they're making like millions and millions of dollars, and the amount of meiser that they give is definitely not equal to 10% of their income, and it's very sad. But if people would honestly give 10% of their livelihood to meiser, then the yeshivas wouldn't have any budget problems, and the shuls wouldn't have any budget problems. All the organizations wouldn't have any budget problems. There'd be enough money to go around to support all those quote unquote nonprofits without having major issues. But so think about doing Elul, how to make sure you give the proper amounts of meiser to help the organizations that rely on it. Mishnah, obviously, when we're talking about legitimate organizations that are doing good work for Klal Yisrael, and we're not talking about the ones who are problematic. Mishnah Yitzie, Shimon Beno Omer, Shimon his son says, Shimon whose son? Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he lived in the final generation before the Churban Beis Hamikdash, and he was killed at the time, and he was one of the Asar Gimachos. So he was the son Gamliel. Okay, that makes sense. Rabbi Gamliel, and Shimon was the son. Okay. Kol my Gidal de Ben Chacham, and all my days I grew up among the Chacham, and I watched how they acted, and I studied their great characters. Loma Sasi the Guf Tova Elishtika. I did not find any character trait better from a person than silence. Lo HaMidrash Hu HaIker Ella HaMaisa. And it's not the study of Torah that is the main point, but the action that results from it. That's the performance of all the mitzvahs comes first you learn, then you perform. And whoever talks too much brings sin. So learn to close your mouth. Don't talk so much. And finally, Mr. Yeches, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says this is not the same Shimon ben Gamliel of Mishnah Zayin. Rather, it's his grandson, who was the father of Rabbi Yehuda. And there were two Shimon ben Gamliels, and there's grandfather and grandson. So he used to say, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel II used to say, the world stands upon three things: al hadin, upon justice; val emes, upon truth; val shalom, and upon peace. Shenamar emes and mishpat shalom shiftu b'sharichem, as it says, judge with truth, justice, and peace in your gates. Okay, this wasn't such a long paragraph; it was 18 mishnayos, but they were short mishnayos, so only took half an hour. Okay, not bad. Have a wonderful day, everyone. I will see you tomorrow for Perek Beis as we continue through Pirkei Avos. Moshe Hashem, not this Shabbos, the following Shabbos, Shabbos Nisav Vayilech, is the Siyam on Seir Nezikin. Have a wonderful day. Kol Tov.